I'm as fascinated as the next person is about what happened to Nancy Guthrie, but some of the reporting and out there is just downright disturbing. There are websites using AI, some reporting that her pacemaker was found, and then there was this from Fox News host Greg Gutfeld.
Have they given anyone polygraphs? I don't believe they have. I think Savannah Guthrie might want to volunteer to do a poly and say, I just don't want people to speculate that I might be involved. And then what does that do? If you decline after the daughter publicly says she's going to do one, that looks different to me. And then you can move beyond the family if that, so be it.
Okay, well, first of all, Greg Gutfeld doesn't know whether the family has taken polygraph tests or not, and they're not about to put that out in the mainstream media. But the point here is that everyone has gotten involved in the speculation. And as I said, I'm as fascinated as the next person. This is a true crime mystery story. But I don't know. What's your take, Lila?
It's such an unusual case. I mean, the vast majority of the people who go missing are young, they're children. The vast majority of the people who go missing are Black and Indigenous, not white. So the fact that you have an elderly person, I think people over 80 are, it's something like 0.2% of missing persons. And yes, it's true. The majority of people who go missing do end up having been abducted by a member of their own family, someone known to them. But her age is unusual. The ransom note thing is unusual.
Right.
There's a lot of strange things. So I understand the fascination. I even understand, frankly, the suggestion that everyone in the family should take a polygraph test. But as you note, that's not the point he's making. He's trying to insinuate that they've done something terrible for attention, which is bonkers. And the people who are coming out of the woodwork to weigh in, that's kind of the way the media is now. I mean, take the mainstream media aside, people are getting their news from social media. They have for a while. They're getting their news from speculation. Everyone's an expert. So when it's converging on a story that involves real people and horrible things that have happened to a particular family, I think it's even harder to make sense of and to digest all of these inputs that are really, some of them are just really quite insane.
Yeah. One of the things, Scott, that really bothers me is that some of the speculation seems to have detracted from some of the real reporting. For instance, the New York Post has done a really good job. They happen to have been there when the FBI found that black nitrile glove, and they were the first ones to
Sure.
report that that was the real glove. Other like they found 2 dozen other gloves, but the New York Post they've got people on the ground. For some reason, they've been able to be in the right place in the right time. And that's what I mean by some of this awful speculation, that it has detracted from real reporting.
Right, and that's so important. I mean, even the Post and the New York Post, that's a big story for them. It's a celebrity story, and when they choose to, they can do some really good reporting. It can do some really fact-based reporting. And unfortunately, that out in the social media world we live in today, that's that doesn't always cut. That's just one voice among many, and you have all sorts of conspiracy theories blooming and speculation about the family, and it's it can take a life of its own and become drive the discussion.
Dan, I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, we've had murder mysteries before. We've had kidnapping with Elizabeth Smart. Of course, that was so long
Sure.
ago now. But Dan, I haven't seen anything like this when we've gotten this kind of speculation.
Well, not since the last time. My students were telling me last week that they don't really understand why this has gotten so much coverage. And I'm not going to sit here and be a news snob. I've been fascinated by this story as much as anybody else. But we have stories that are important and we have stories that are interesting. And this story falls more into the category of a story that's interesting than it is important, although obviously it's very important to the Guthrie family. What I would really like to see come out of this, and it won't, but I would like to see some people in the media think about how they've been covering the hundreds, if not thousands, of people who go missing every year and really don't get much in the way of attention. We can't give this sort of attention to every single case, but we can look at broader trends. I have seen very little on how many people go missing, how often the family is implicated in that, how these cases are resolved. These are interesting and important stories that could come out of this terrible tragedy.
Yeah, but no one cares. I
Well,
mean, that's the problem, Dan. Yeah,
that's the
that's the problem with
problem.
that kind of, well, we get fixated on one story. That's because it's really interesting and it has a mystery to it. But, as Lila said, most people who go missing, it has something to do with the family. You know, it's it's not that interesting, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's for sure.
The audio review.